Hey everyone. Um, Sorry about that. I'm just trying to adjust this to where I can hear on the outside what's going on, and you know, also do this vid here or audio vid. Um, I'm also doing this because I'm also basically I have one ear open and one ear covered. The reason being is because I don't know when my mom's gonna pop into the doorway. She's here, on vacation, stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of hard to do this at times. So if you hear an instant pause in a second, it's like, or a knock, I'm gonna have to pause because she's gonna want to talk and discuss something or whatever's going on. Uh, anyway, as you can see here, it says, how would I write the Sonic comics, the Archie Sonic comics? Basically, there was a topic. A link will be provided down in the description box. Someone had asked, and if I could check it again, let me make sure. Hold on, folks. Basically, the topic that Quantum Edge at the Archie Sonic Online forums, archiesonic.com online forums, the topic he put together was, how would you do it? Writing for Sonic the Hedgehog. Basically, thing is, he came up with an idea. This is a topic he came up with, indicating, how would you write the comic if, not saying he has, but if head writer Ian Flynn stepped down and the head writing position opened up. Well, reality-wise, I think they already got somebody in mind to take his place if that happens. So that was by Quantum Edge, and I will provide the link down below so you guys can check it out. I even have mine up there, but I'm going to read off to you the ideas I came up with of how I would write the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books by Archie. This is what I said, and I quote from what I typed up. Yes, I did type this up. I said, well, for one, and this is what I put down, one, I would get straight to the point of the story. In other words, I wouldn't mess around, I wouldn't put fillers, I wouldn't mess around or anything like that. I would get straight to the story. I wouldn't delay or use filler, I would get straight to the point of it and go from there. Exactly what I just said. And then I go on to say, for example, like with the Mecha Sally arc, I wouldn't drag it out for nearly a year and a half. I would plan to have it done within the confines of at least 6 months tops. In other words, I wouldn't drag it, I wouldn't, put in this filler or expose, stuff like that, I would give it at least a half a year at most, and then, be done with it, because let's be honest, a story like that should not be dragged out as long as it was, even if you're Ian Flynn and you want to make it you were planning on making it your magnum opus. I wouldn't do that. Instead, I would go straight to the point. I would use the 6 months that I would give it to get straight to the point and get it done with. I did say this. I said that even if I decided, and this is a if. There's a big if, that even if I decided to drag it out to issue 250, I would at least give the Freedom Fighters some momentum, and by issue 235, at least allow Sally to regain her free will, but remain roboticized/weaponized as a ruse to help her friends stay a step ahead of Eggman. In other words, you give them a minor victory that slowly builds to more victories and more victories until you get to the finale. And by 250, have her be restored, by issue 250, have her be restored by means of Eggman trying once again to roboticize the world, but unbeknownst to him and even the readers, have Sally, over the past 14 issues, slowly and secretly change the inner workings of the roboticizer so that it de-roboticizes instead. In other words, kind of surprise the readers by having her behind the scenes, not even us knowing, have her, and along with Eggman, have her, kind of switch the inner workings of the roboticizer so that it de-roboticizes instead. In other words, use that time to kind of figure out how she get basically from a continuity timeline. It gives her time in those 14 months, 14 issues, to figure out how to switch the inner workings to make the roboticizer into a de-roboticizer. Now, I do say that as for the ending, I would have Eggman once again lose it. In other words, lose it like he did at the end of 200. But this time be put into confinement by the freedom fighters, with him shouting and blabbering that chaos is the constant, after Supersonic destroys the Death Egg Mark II. In other words, you might remember, if you follow through, that at the end of as we were getting close to 200, Eggman, storyline-wise, continuity-wise, was slowly losing his mind. He was losing his marbles until that defeat at the hands of Sonic in 200 finally put him over the edge. So, by putting him over the edge, he basically started blabbering, saying things that didn't make sense, da-da-da-da-da. So why not have that happen again, but this time have him constantly say, chaos is the constant, chaos is the constant. Because if you look in 230, it looks like he's about to lose it again, but then he remembers, wait a minute, now I get it. Kind of puts his glasses back on, because they were slowly slipping down his face, because he looked like he was going to lose it again. But he puts it back on. It's like, oh, I got to remember, chaos is the constant. Have him constantly blab that, so, as he's being taken away. Now that would be the soft reboot retcon. But then this is what I would do, because to me this makes more sense. It would be, and this is what I said, it would be after that, starting with 251, I would do the first Sonic Mega Man crossover as its own story arc. But basically as another time, another place crossover. In other words, I would not put it in context with the continuity of the story arc or storylines or timelines of both comics. I would keep it its own separate thing. I wouldn't interfere with what's going on continuity-wise in either book. I would keep it as its own separate thing. It's sort of a special deal that has nothing to do with the continuity of either story arcs or comics going on at that time. I also said that I would keep things about the same, but add in the addition of having the roboticized master versions of Sonic's friends combined into one giant roboticized master. Sorry about that. But like I said, I would keep things about the same storyline wise, but in addition of having add in the addition of having the roboticized master versions of Sonic's friends combined into one giant roboticized master with the self-destruct timer that we got introduced to, I think, about 2 issues before the finale, added in for more conflict. Now, of course, Sonic and Mega Man would win and save the day, with the sequel bait that they will work together again. And again, that keeps in time. That kind of ties in with the another place, another time deal. So again, like I said, it wouldn't interfere with the continuity of the comics. It wouldn't interfere with the timelines or the continuities or whatever. It would not basically interrupt anything going on with the comics. It would basically be its own separate thing. Sort of a break from the norm, if you will. Now, I do mention that soon after the crossover, I would get into the storylines that we are currently in right now, but with a few additions that can be also woven in, easy for me to say, to the Universe comic. Now, these are the stories that I would put into the Universe comic. These are the additions that I would woven into the Sonic Universe comic. These are the stories I would put in Sonic Universe after the crossover, and this is sort of be like where we are now. The first Universe comic I would make an exception and make as a 6-part Universe arc. I know this sounds strange, but this is the reason. I would definitely do a story arc where Knuckles goes on a quest to save Julie Sue, his mom, Linda, Saffron, and the other Echidnas. But because this would be a huge quest, I would make the exception and make this Universe arc a 6-parter. Because from a storyline aspect, story arc aspect, he has to probably travel around and find them and save them, and then maybe has to encounter Thrash along the way and probably finally figure out what this whole situation is about and put an end to it. The second story I would do would be a Universe arc on the trial of Eggman, featuring the return of Sonic the Zone Cop. This story would delve right into the history of Eggman, all the way back to when he was Robo-Robotnik, and ask the question of why he is willing to do so much as to change reality and just not accept the fact that no matter what he does, he will never beat Sonic of the Prime Zone. I think that could really be an interesting, unique universe arc that delves into the history of this version of Eggman all the way back to his days as Robo-Robotnik, but would also allow more expose, if you will, kind of get an idea that might lead into something later on to where Eggman probably realizes he can't beat this Sonic and that maybe he made a mistake coming here. But again, that's what to me though, the trial of Dr. Eggman would be a great universe arc no matter what. The third one I would do is dedicate a universe arc to the Down Under Freedom Fighters. It would be a story that would focus on Barbary Koala in her decision to leave after one last mission. The reason being is because, as romantic and sappy as it sounds, she wants to join the Knothole Freedom Fighters because she realizes her feelings for Tails runs deeper than she thought. Now this would basically be a callback to around issue 60 or 61. So to me, I think it would really work. Again, like I said, as romantic and sappy as it sounds, I think it would be good to do. The next one I would do, the fourth one I would do, would be a universe arc that sees the redemption of Fiona Fox. This would be a story where she realizes she made a mistake joining up with Scourge and decides that she needs to make up for her wrongdoing. But instead of returning to the Freedom Fighters, she creates her own group that fights for freedom and what's right, but with more of a anti-hero aggressive approach, but with the added caveat that they don't kill and are bound by the word and promises they make. So I think, to me, that would be, a great, sort of a good redemption for Fiona. She goes back to sort of being a freedom fighter, but does it the way she's been wanting to do it, and basically she gets together a group that feels the same way. Now, the last universe arc I would do as of, right now, if I was writing the book, or writing both books, in this post-soft retcon reboot, is I would do a team-up universe arc with Sally teaming up with Blaze. That's right, Princess Sally Acorn teaming up with Blaze the Cat. The story would be that Blaze is seeking Sonic's help, but he's on a mission on the other side of the planet. So Sally volunteers herself to help Blaze. Now Blaze knows who Sally is thanks to Sonic mentioning her to Blaze. So they go back to Blaze's world to confront her world's version of Naugus. Now yes, they do win and Sally goes back to her world, but this will serve as a prelude to Eggman Nega's debut in the main comic. For Blaze's world version of Naugus is just a pawn in a bigger plan. Further on, this of course would lead us into my take of the current arc we're in now, the Shadow World Crisis. But instead, this would be the result of Eggman Nega showing up in Sonic's world after he somehow obtained all the Soul Emeralds and goes to combine their powers with the Chaos Emeralds that he has obtained secretly. Now, what I mean by that is, after the first crossover, as sort of a homage to the satellite deal of issues 60 to 75, that being the main comic, we see the Chaos Emeralds that have been scattered about after 250 by Supersonic being gathered up by an unknown force. That force, of course, turns out to be Nega. He then combines the power of both the Chaos and Soul Emeralds to destroy all reality unless he is made master of the universes/zones across space and time. This arc would be the only long run I would make. This arc would be the only long one I would make, for this would run from 277 to 300. Because of the massive journey across space and time and worlds and zones the characters would have to make to try and restore everything as it was. The ending would be unique as well, with not just Sonic, Blaze, Tails, Shadow, Silver, and Knuckles gaining the super forms, but the Freedom Fighters Chaotix and Amy Rose gaining super forms as well just for this climactic battle, which of course they would win. That, in closing, would be how I would write the Sonic comic if the position of head writer opened up, if he never stepped down, either before the soft retcon or afterwards, probably, because it sounds like probably before the soft retcon, people would want to know how you would do it. So, but anyway, that's how I would do it. I'll provide a link down below so you guys could check it out. Maybe my whole thing here that I wrote down will fit in the description box. We'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think. How would you rewrite the book? Pre and post soft retcon reboot.